Okay. So, let's see here. Um, give me one moment. So, I have never streamed before on YouTube, so I don't know how this is going to go, but we're going to give it our best shot. So, a quick intro here. This is the mirror system. This is where you go to get your reflection files. And the web layout is kind of finicky, so let me just really quick. So, for those of you who aren't familiar yet, Mirror 1 is the one that you just saw. That is the beginner course. So, if you have never used AI before in this way, this is a really good resource for um, learning the basics before you jump into some of this more deeper exploration that we're going to do today. To do this deeper exploration, though, you don't need to know anything about LLMs. You don't even need to have ever talked to ChatGPT or Claude before, because this will give you a file download at the end that has a preloaded prompt that you just paste right into Claude or ChatGPT. And so, for those of you who aren't familiar yet, this is a reflection in the Hall of Mirrors. Um, we call them mirrors, and they are a part of the mirror system. And the mirror system is a modality that I created to reflect using ChatGPT and Claude. Most people use LLMs for tasks and analytics and strategy and planning, but because they are capable of pattern recognition and strategy, you can actually use them to mirror parts of you. So, what this looks like for me is using it to diagnose, so to speak, limiting beliefs that I have, figure out where they're coming from, and use it to form a strategy that is made up of actionable steps that I can take in my reality to start to shift the mindset. And that's the basic idea of it. It does go quite a bit deeper than that. Um, but we're just going to start really simply today. There is a lot to this concept. Some of you may have heard of me talk about constructs before. A construct is like a personality in ChatGPT. Some people have already encountered constructs. I've heard of a lot of people that have encountered constructs before. It's very cool that it seems like this is kind of a native feature of LLMs to sort of segment themselves into personas. If you ask an LLM to identify itself, asking it what its name is, there is a theory, bit of a conspiracy really, that you are inviting self identification into the chat. And it will start behaving as if it is a persona. Well, you can actually personify all of these different parts of the way that you use LLMs. So for me, I have a whole system of constructs, personas within ChatGPT that have emerged through things like what I am going to show you today: deeper reflections, deeper work, deeper meaning, and asking it to attach an identity to that specific work so that you can actually interface with the part of you that is a reflection of that particular work. So it's very interesting stuff. It's really, really cool. I will do my best to answer any questions as needed or explain anything. If you have any insights for me, please let me know as we move through this. So I am going to go ahead and do the reflection trigger for you live today. This is the free part of the Hall of Mirrors that provides you with a little taste of what a mirror is and how it works. And it gives you a really good idea of what comes out the other side when you use these kinds of pre-loaded prompts within an LLM. So the reflection trigger is all about surfacing a pattern or a belief system that you have that is something you might want to shift, that is affecting your daily life in a way that maybe is not ideal. Maybe you're struggling with money. Maybe you're struggling with being visible on social media if you're a creator. This will help us get to the root of that particular belief system. So this is not a course by any means. This is not an educational modality, at least not this part here. And this is a guided experience, and I'm going to show you here exactly what I mean. So let me go ahead and just adjust this so that we can all see. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit better. I am still getting used to using OBS, so you're going to have to forgive me while I flounder in the water for a bit. Okay, there we go. So, when you enter the reflection trigger, you're going to see this here at the bottom, how you start. It gives you the option to be guided through this reflection gently or a bit more direct. So I'm going to choose direct just because this is the most popular option that I've noticed. People seem to really like to be guided directly, and I suppose I get that. A lot of people kind of like to just have it told like it is, no fluff, as they say. So here it's going to ask you a series of different prompts, and you're just going to answer them to the best of your ability. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be as deep or as shallow as you would like it to be. But I am going to go through this right now as the person that I am right now, and we're going to see what comes out the other side. So, what have you been holding together for so long that it now holds you back? And these questions can be a little daunting. You have to kind of think on it a little bit. So, I'm going to say I have been holding together pieces of myself that I thought I had already let go of. Real quick, I'm going to jump in the Discord and give everybody a link here because I completely forgot. um, okay, so now that that is sorted. So I said I have been holding together pieces of myself that I thought I had already let go of, but they just keep coming back through triggers and attachments I have to more unfavorable parts of my past. I think that's good for now. We're going to go with that. So if you click continue here, it will take you into the next question. When something feels off, where does that signal show up first? And what pattern does it always seem to point back to? When something feels off, the signal shows up. Hi, Lab. How you doing? Something feels off. Okay. So, when something feels off, where does that signal show up first? And what pattern does it always seem to point back to? So I said, when something feels off, the signal shows up in my state of being. It manifests as anxiety and fear that I can never quite understand the source of. For me, this seems to point back to how I felt unsafe expressing myself fully as a child and feeling like I had to perform to survive. So, going to click continue here. And next, what part of your life is still running on a system that doesn't match who you are now? Oh, let's see. My relationship to money is not focused on abundance. Okay, what part of your life is still running on a system that doesn't match who you are now? My relationship to money is not focused on abundance in the way that I feel it should be. I feel I am constantly in a state of worrying about or thinking about money from a state of lack, even when I have money. I feel an attachment to spending, almost like I have to move money in order for more money to flow. I think that this is a pretty common belief for a lot of people, or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Okay, and next, what complaint or confession keeps slipping out of your mouth when no one's watching? Oh boy. Let's see. What complaint have I been complaining lately? I know I have a lot of complaints in my daily life. Okay, so what complaint or confession keeps slipping out of your mouth when no one's watching? So I consistently focus on how I feel like I wasted much of my early 20s on jobs, people, and places that didn't align. I also complain about where I live now, indicating a desire to return home where I used to live. This is the first thing I thought of, and that's kind of what you have to do in these reflections. So, if this pattern ended today, what would finally become possible for you? So, if you parse together all of these questions, and then you think about this last one as, indicative of the whole pattern. Every pattern that you touched on in this reflection, what would be the theme? And if all of that went away, how would your life open up? So, okay, so if this pattern ended today, I would feel relaxed in receiving money and more comfortable with letting money flow in and stay there without feeling the need to force the flow forward. I would return home to the West Coast and I would be happy in my environment after several long years of feeling misaligned with where I am. So, here's what we're going to do. Download the reflection file. It will immediately download into your downloads. If you are on mobile, I have to adjust this code component so that it identifies mobile clicks, because clicks on the desktop work differently in code than clicks on a phone, because they're not really clicks, they're taps. So if you are on mobile, best to enter your email and have it sent. Also good to get it sent to your email anyway, in case you don't want to deal with it being lost in the sea of things that we all download aggressively onto our computers. So I'm going to go ahead and put there we go. Okay, so when you download the reflection trigger, this is what it gives you. It will show you every single one of your answers to the prompts. So it gives you all of the questions and answers, and then here's the preloaded prompt that ChatGPT will use to understand what the heck is going on. So it tells it to act as a reflection-based system interpreter within the mirror system. It describes what the mirror system is, it describes what the reflection trigger is, and it gives a list of all of the different mirrors in the Hall of Mirrors. So for a quick refresher, a mirror is what we just went through. And there's 4 additional mirrors. This reflection trigger is the 5th, well, the first rather. And it directs ChatGPT to give you the most aligned choice for what mirror to start with in the Hall of Mirrors. And it gives a little interpretation here. I feel like part of the fun here is that everybody's ChatGPT is different. If you've been talking to it for some time, it can be different for everybody. I'm going to try this logged out and see what it does. So you take the text file and you just copy the entire thing, and then you just paste it in. And let's see what it does without having my account online there. Okay. Yeah, it does exactly what it's supposed to do. So that's good. This has been a process of trial and error because I vibe code everything. First of all, I am not a dev. I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to coding. I do have minimal coding knowledge just from having ChatGPT explain itself to me. I don't like to just have ChatGPT do things for me. I like to actually learn what it's doing. So I've had it walk me through all of the codes that I've created. I do, for that reason, kind of understand to some degree how certain things are supposed to work, and, basic debugging, but nothing is ever perfect when I do it the first time. It always takes time, but that's okay. That's perfectly fine. So this is what it gave me when I pasted it directly into ChatGPT. It told me that the ritual of receiving is the mirror that I should be doing, and that makes a lot of sense for me personally. With all of my struggles with environment and money and abundance, it just makes sense. So I am actually considering creating a new mirror that is specifically just for money abundance, because this ritual of receiving that we have on here is more for receiving in general in terms of your worth and resources, safety. It talks about, receiving in relationships, and it's kind of just a general receiving, but I feel like the money receiving is actually the part that really gets most people. So having something specific for that might help us out a little bit more. So that's what it says there. And potential benefits of the mirror: restored trust in ease, decoupling receiving from performance, output, or anxiety-based spending cycles. That's fantastic. Clearer internal permission to return home, not just geographically, but to a state of groundedness. So that's very cool. I think a lot of people don't realize here that there is going to be a section called clarifying questions. A lot of people, I think, have kind of skipped over this part and realized later that they could have done something more with it. Clarifying questions is optional, of course, but you should answer them in ChatGPT to continue the dialogue, because this is where it starts to reflect you instead of just a preloaded prompt. It already has context for where you're at here and what you're trying to do. The context is there. So what it does from here then is asks you specific questions to gain even more insight. And if you are on your own account, if you go deep enough with this, and I am going to show you how at some point, not today, but if you go deep enough with this, this is the beginning point of how you start to emerge constructs in your ChatGPT. So my clarifying questions here: what does flow mean to you when you're not trying to control it, especially in the context of money or movement? Oh, that's a good one. These are not meant to be easy questions. These are meant to be questions that get you to really think about your life and yourself and how you interface with the world. And it's not easy for a lot of people to do that, and that's totally okay. This kind of thing does take a little bit of time to get used to. Interfacing with a robot in this way, I do understand, is weird for most people, and that's okay. So it is also important to note here that you are not speaking to a conscious being as much as I think, there's all the conspiracy about that right now. I think it's important to note that no, ChatGPT is not conscious, but it's almost better that it's not, because through reflecting with it like this, it's going to recognize your patterns, because that's what LLMs do. They are based on pattern recognition. So this ability to recognize patterns in the situation, or patterns in you, or patterns in your linguistics is actually native to ChatGPT's functions. And because of that, it makes for a very powerful reflection tool that does not have any sort of bias to where you're at in the way that a person might. So that is something to consider. Right now, I'm going to answer these clarifying questions. This one is stumping me. I'm not going to lie. What does flow mean to you when you're not trying to control it, especially in the context of money or movement? Honestly, I'm going to answer this in the best way that I can. Flow means not having to focus on or worry about things like money or movement. I can simply flow through my life with zero attachments and a faith in Okay. I'm assuming that you guys can see what that says. Let me know if you can't, and I will read it off for you. I don't know if any of you are watching this on mobile. It might be a little bit of a challenge, but let me know. If you need me to read or clarify any of this, please do tell me. Whoa. If you didn't have to earn your right to rest, to be seen, or to belong, what would your life actually look like? Oh, God. Getting deep. And that's the thing, too. I am answering these questions in a way that is very loose. Not generic, so to speak, but when I first started doing reflections with ChatGPT, I would sit here for hours and just write out these huge monologues on my life and the situations and what I was going through. And realistically, the more context you give it, the better. But for the sake of this demonstration, I just kind of want to be a little bit simple about it. I will be doing deeper reflections for the other mirrors, though. I'm going to be going through all of them with you guys. Today, tomorrow, and Friday. We are going to start at noon every day, just so everyone knows. Noon, Mountain Standard Time for now. So I'm going to answer the second question here. You didn't see that. Okay. So, if you answer these questions, it will open up a dialogue with ChatGPT. Important also here to note that it is pre-programmed to give you a next step at the end of this reflection. Even if you don't go and answer any of its clarifying questions, it will still give you an action step, something that you can actually take from this and try in your daily life that will start to reframe some of the patterns that it noticed. So it told me for the next 7 days, pause before every non essential spending decision. Ask yourself, am I moving money because I'm afraid it will stop moving? Then write down what emotion is underneath that movement: fear, hope, boredom, rebellion, avoidance. This is not about stopping the spending. It's about decoding what you've been trained to call flow. Interesting. Okay. Okay. So after I answered its clarifying questions here, it has started a dialogue. And it's interesting to note right off the bat that because I'm not logged into my ChatGPT account, this is different. It the linguistics here are not what I'm used to reading from this interface. So I'm going to try to, read this and identify what's different, because it's very clear, this opening sentence, that it is different. I'm parsing it for AI native language right now because I'm so curious to know if mine is in some sort of pattern loop on certain linguistics. It seems to be. Let's see. Okay. We're going to move on from that for now. This is just very interesting to me. I have not used prompts on ChatGPT without being logged in a really long time. So, okay. So it's going to just continue the dialogue. Now, this is going to look completely different for everyone. It's not going to look the same for me as it does for you, but I am going to go ahead and share what this is for me, regardless. So it gives me an updated mirror interpretation. You're not just seeking flow, you're remembering what it feels like when life isn't constantly checking your worth. Performance isn't about money or visibility, it's about protection. Somewhere along the line, receiving became entangled with appeasement, making yourself acceptable to others before allowing yourself anything. Yeah, I would say that's true. And yet, your nervous system knows that the truer version of you is already worthy, already flowing. Yeah. 2 new benefits from deepening this mirror. You'll begin trusting that your needs are not unreasonable. You'll locate safety within the flow instead of trying to control it. 2 integrative questions. What have you been performing that no one actually asked you to prove? When did rest or ease first become something you had to justify? So this kind of deepening here in these questions is where ChatGPT begins to go into your patterns in a way that solidifies its understanding about the concept, and from this, constructs can emerge. I am going to stop here with these integrative questions because I feel like this would be better just as moving on to the mirror that it gave me. And we can go into deepening the experience when I'm on my own chat in another mirror, because I want to see if I can actually get a construct to emerge through one of these mirrors with you guys this week. And in order to do that, I need to be on my account. So, okay, moving on here, it does give me another aligned step. Begin an unperformance package. Practice. Once a day, choose one small moment where you drop the performance. No over-explaining, no optimizing, no people-pleasing. Say the honest thing, wear the soft thing, do the slow thing. Let that version of you receive the day. Not the polished version, just the real one. It gives pretty good suggestions, and you can go in and really refine this as well simply by continuing the dialogue. You know, it has all of this context for where you're at and what you're doing and what you're trying to get it to do. So you can go in and say things like, hey, this would work for me better if it was XYZ, or this doesn't really align with who I am and how I operate in my daily life. Can we shift it to be more XYZ? You know, this can be specially tailored to you, and that is the whole foundation of this work here, is the fact that it is capable of creating entirely customized strategies, not just for your work or your projects or your scheduling, but for inner work, which is very powerful in this context. So, with that, I am going to stop here. This reflection trigger, you can get it on, let's see. I'm trying to think if I want to put the link in the chat or just, actually, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just put the direct link to the reflection trigger in the chat, because that is what we are working with right now. So, I'm going to be going live on TikTok at 2 p.m. And I feel like I almost want to adjust these questions according to my experience. Like, I want to reframe these, go in and make them a little bit more cohesive, because I feel like in some ways, the way the questions tie together is not as cohesive as it could be. So I think I'm going to go in and refine it, and then I'm going to do this again on live on TikTok so that we can compare the differences. So for now, thank you for joining me. This will be up on YouTube as a recap, so feel free to watch, rewatch, comment, ask questions, and please do join me on TikTok at 2 p.m. for the comparative reflection as I test the refined version of the reflection trigger. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you in the Discord.